Okay, folks, here we are again with another Unity Playground tutorial. This one is going to look at how to do attacks. I am doing all of this after doing the quick setup. I'll do a link in the description below if you want to go back to that tutorial. But if you know what you're doing and you want to jump in with your own stuff, I have two players that I have set up. Each one has move, jump, a Rigidbody 2D, a Polygon Collider 2D, and a health system. I also have an asteroid that has a modify health on it with a Polygon Collider. So if I do a quick test, we know that taking a character and running into this asteroid 3 times hits us for the 3 times that health is set up, and the character dies. So what if we want to have attacks? What if we want to throw fireballs or shoot lasers? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my blue player, and the blue player and the purple player have both been made prefabs, and I'm saving everything in this playground restart folder. So I can edit my prefab in one of 2 ways. Way number 1 is I can double click on it in my assets folder and open it up here. Once I'm inside blue player, I'm going to right click and say create empty, and I'm going to create an object named shooter, which is inside of blue player. This is going to be from where my shots come from, and so I'm going to position it to one side of my character's body, and I'm going to then save my prefab by hitting the back arrow over here, which will often give me a save prompt. Although I have to say, in my computer lab at school where I'm teaching, we don't get the save prompt, it just automatically saves. Okay, I can confirm that it saved because in my blue player now I can see shooter. And so once that's in there, now I'm going to take the steps to set up my laser. In this case, I'm going to go down to Unity Technologies Playground and go into Images and find my particles. And you can use any of these that you want. I'm going to use EnergyBall because it is directional. And so later in the tutorial, I'll show you some other things and we'll discover a problem that we'll try to fix in a later tutorial. Okay, so I drag the particle that I select into the hierarchy, which puts it at 0, 0. And now I can make some modifications to this. So I'm going to add component. So while I have the energy ball selected, I'm going to add component. And the first one is going to be bullet. In order to use bullet, we need to have a Collider 2D. Because I'm using the EnergyShot, I'm going to use Polygon. If you're using one of these rounded capsule type lasers, you might also want to use Polygon, but if you're using EnergySphere, you can go ahead with Circle. Okay, so I now have a Polygon Collider on it, and I believe because I specified bullet to create this, it is saying that this collider is a trigger, which is going to allow this to overlap different objects and then trigger a event. Okay. Once I have that, I'm also going to add a Rigidbody. Spelling it properly will work better. Rigidbody, and I'm going to turn off gravity. Now, if you are creating a game in which you want to have a projectile that drops over time, leaving gravity on would make sense. But that's not the way that I'm playing this game. So I'm turning gravity off. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to add a new component. And in this case, my component is going to be a area condition, or I can do condition to look at the different types. And because I'm using a trigger, I'm going to use condition area. If you were trying to do something that was not using trigger, you could use condition collision. I'm not going to get into this right now. I could do another tutorial if people have questions on this. Let me know in the comments. So condition area works with things that are triggers, and this allows me to specify gameplay actions. And in this case, I'm going to put a destroy action, and the object that is going to be destroyed, I'm going to specify that it is this object. So my energy ball will come out it will strike something, and then the energy shot will disappear. Once I have these things set up, I'm going to go ahead and drag my energy ball into the folder where I'm saving my prefabs. Actually, before I do that, I don't want to call it energy ball because that is the name of the image. I'm going to specify something different. So I'm going to call this EnergyShot. And then when I create this prefab, it will be called EnergyShot, which will help me remember that it's the prefab I created. Once I turn this into a prefab, I can delete it, and I should delete it from the scene because otherwise it's going to collide with that asteroid right from the get-go. Okay, so now we need to set up our character to shoot it. Before I told you you can double click on your prefab in the assets to open it up. The other way to do your editing of your prefab is if it's in the scene, you can click this little arrow next to it, and then you can edit it within the scene, and this will affect all prefabs. Okay, so I'm selecting the shooter component, and I'm adding a component of object shooter. Now I have to tell it what I want to shoot, and this is going to shoot energy shots. Right now, the key that is going to shoot it is a spacebar, which maybe I'll come back and change because I'm trying to make a 2-player game, and the spacebar is kind of shared in the middle of the keyboard, but it's fine for testing. Okay, I'm going to save this by hitting the back arrow. I'm going to say save, and when I press play, I can now test my shots, and there we go. There's a shot, but it's not quite the direction I want. So I'm going to go back into my prefab. I'm going to select the shooter, and sure enough here, shoot direction is 1 in the X and 1 in the Y. So if I want it to just go horizontally, I'm going to change that to 1 in the X and 0 in the Y. And I'm going to go ahead and again, save this. So now this should be able to shoot. And there we go. And when it's hitting the asteroid, it is being destroyed. The other thing that I can now do is on EnergyShot, if I want to make any changes to this, and let's make some of these a little bit smaller, destroy action, not only destroy myself, but I could also have it destroy what it hits. So I can do that under condition area by adding a second destroy action. And in that second destroy action, I can specify the object that collided. So if I save that and press play, I am now destroying the asteroid as well. But what if I want to do damage to the other player? Well, in this case, I just completely destroyed the other player because I hit them. So if I want my energy shot to actually damage this other player, I might be adding the component of modify health. So it will now subtract 1 from anything that has a health system. But right now, I don't have a UI telling me what my health is. So I'm going to go into Unity, Playground, Prefabs, and I'm going to drag, oh, looks like that's one I created in another tutorial. I'm going to drag user interface. You should only have 1 in your folder. I'm going to drag it into the hierarchy. And now when I press play, there we go. There we go. So that is a little weird because I destroyed the other player, but I actually only took 1 health away from them. So we might want to do a little bit of fixing here as well. Let's go back into here where you've saved your energy shot, and let's look at that second destroy action. Actually, condition area. So we might want to filter by tag. And if you don't want the player to be destroyed when it's hit, you can then make sure that you're checking for anything that's untagged. This asteroid currently is untagged. So now if I press play, it's only going to destroy things that are untagged. And if I hit another player, it's going to do damage and it's going to pass right through them. So here I can actually set up a second specification. If I wanted to, I could set up another condition area. Let's go ahead and do that. Condition area. And filter by tag. If you're hitting player 2, then I want you to destroy action, destroy the shot, not the player. Okay, now if I press play, there we go. And we do 1 damage, 2 damage, and 3 damage to the other player. But the funny thing in this is that doesn't say health on the right. So there are some funky things with the user interface for 2-player games. And if I want it to show properly, if I say 2-player with life down here, now this will make sense. There we go. Life is showing properly. Now, some of you might say, well, there's an easier way to do this. Rather than having to specify the 2 types of condition area, you could just select the asteroid and add component of destroy. And if you spell destroy correctly, you'll get destroy for points. So now the idea is if I shoot this with a bullet, I will get a point for it. The problem with that is if I shoot it and I'm in a 2-player game, I have life on both sides, I shoot it, I destroy the asteroid and I get a point, and so it tries to update my score to 1. The problem here is I have a 2-player game, so that's supposed to be life. So when I shoot the other player, that goes to 2. So depending on what kind of game you're trying to make, your settings for the user interface and how you set this up make a lot of difference. So if you're making a 1-player game with score, then having destroy for points on here makes a lot of sense. There we go. That makes sense. Now, some of you might think, well, the logical thing to do would simply be to set it to worth 0 points, and then this bug won't happen. Unfortunately, it does still happen. So when I shoot, it still says score 0, which makes sense because my score is 0. But if I'm in the 2-player with life mode, it's going to tell me that the other player's health is 0. There we go. So again, this is a little buggy. I'm trying to show you where those bugs are so you can avoid them. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you're having problems with, and I'll see if I can give you an update. But this is how we get the shooting to work. I'm going to do a series of tutorials for other types of attacks as well, so stay tuned. And before I close down, I might also want to just mention that on the player with move, if you're orienting to direction, when I press play, if I face the other way, it still shoots to the right. So I'm going to have another tutorial that looks at a way of fixing that. And there's a couple ways, different levels of complexity of how to fix that. But right now, throwing your fireballs with the spacebar in this setup only shoots them to the right. Okay. Thanks for joining us, and see you again soon.